Hi guys. Hello. How's the lunch? Good? Yes, nice, very nice. First of all, thank you for coming for the Hackers Perspective session. If you, of course, are back from the morning session, welcome back. Unfortunately, I have to introduce myself again for the guys that haven't been here before. So a couple of words, technically. My name is Paula. Welcome. And what I'm doing for a living, I'm a penetration tester. So I'm getting into the customer's infrastructure and testing out if everything is okay. I'm a little bit more on the bad side rather than on the good side. Therefore, of course, always working for the good reason. And this is myself. I'm participating in different kinds of security-related projects for the last 13 years, and this was my security is my passion. At least I try to keep it like that, and it's also my hobby. This is my work and everything. My husband is also security, so I'm a very boring person, as you will notice during this presentation. So this is the first thing. Second, I've mentioned on the last session that I got access to the source code of Windows. Actually, within this session, this source code access helped me to do a little bit of research regarding something that wasn't technically seen before. I would like to present to you a new tool that our team wrote, and that particular tool is getting access to a couple of things in the registry. Therefore, this is not very obvious, and we're going to get access to a bunch of passwords today. So this is myself. I'm also running the project that is called Secure Academy, as you see on the Twitter account in the bottom. And Secure Academy, this is the full education program within security. And the reason why I established is because I was very bored with all the mistakes that are met in the infrastructure during the pen test. They are all over the same. Pen tests are kind of boring, I must tell you. Therefore, this program, of course, came out. And that's technically myself. So security, security, security. But what the session is going to be about. So as you see, the title is quite awkward because the hacker's perspective. Yeah? So basically what we're going to do, we're going to jump into the hacker's person, and then we're going to see what kind of issues are to be found within the infrastructure, what kind of things hackers are paying attention to, how to hide data, for example, and how to, of course, deliver all of the other different kinds of malicious situations. Of course, the idea is a little bit reversed because we should learn how to secure. But of course, this is not possible without being really in a hacker's place. So this is how we're going to treat this presentation. Simply speaking, my goal of the presentation to achieve today, and hopefully you will agree with me, is that I would like you to be more familiar with what can happen with the operating system. This is the goal number one. Second, pay attention to your infrastructure. So look at it as if you were a hacker, use the tools as if you were a hacker, and then eventually you're going to find a lot of things that you can harden later. We will not discuss things like forensics. We will not discuss things like securing. We're going to mention a couple of things. I will show you also a couple of things, but this is not the major goal of the session. The goal is very simple. Let's see what hacker sees. So this is the first thing. Of course, nobody leaves the room with empty hands. And the reason why I'm saying this is because our team, so Secure, this is the name of the company that I'm working for. Our team is very much engaged in a lot of research within the security field. And when you go to the website, you just go directly to the tools tile. You see, of course, all of the tools over there. One more disclaimer, like in the morning, please do not run them in the production environment because they are causing a little bit of danger and a little bit of damage. And obviously, sometimes this damage is hidden. It's actually quite funny because a couple of tools are publishing information from your laptops to my server at home. And when on one of the conferences said, please do not run this malware on your computer. Yes, because I was analyzing malware. Later on, for the next couple of months, I was having this updated information from everybody's laptops. It's a little bit like, do not press this big red button, yeah? Pfft, everybody is like pressing it. And then I was like having all the contents of everybody's My Documents folder in my server. Very cool. And that was, yeah, so technically, please do not. And this stuff is still there. So please do not run things in the production environment. Anyway, disclaimer set. And again, you have been warned. So let's move on. So the agenda is very simple, yes? So we're going to talk, of course, about the whole idea of the hackers being in the infrastructure. What do they see? And we're going to have this kind of checklist. The checklist is from the hacker perspective. So if you get into the infrastructure, the question is what you are supposed to do, because there are many points of entry. Technically, I would say that whenever we are about to put the word hacking, quite an unpopular word, I would say, into the frames, there are 3 types of hacking that we can make. One is through misconfiguration, and as long as, of course, we know what can be misconfigured and how this can be exploited, we can get in. Another one is through vulnerability, and this is quite obvious. Vulnerability is, and this is also exploitable. And another one, it's something that I call a cheap hacking. And cheap hacking means you send someone a link or a tool or anything like that, and this person needs to act. So you are really relying on the people's lack of awareness within security. We're going to focus on all of those. And basically, some examples going to be through vulnerability, through misconfiguration, and also through the people doing something that is incorrect. The first step for the hacker, of course, is very important. And I'm not talking here about the network or a system. I'm talking in general, yes? So whenever you are working somewhere, you need to stay anonymous. And of course, there is a bunch of ways how we are able to do this. Jump from one proxy to another, obviously. Use the VPN through VPN and so on. So do this kind of tunneling thing. Use the Tor network that I'm sure that you have heard about. Tor network is technically the project that whenever you go through the Tor networks, which is a separate network within which you, in general, this is the idea, you should be anonymous, then we are coming out from something that we are calling exit nodes. And exit nodes are strictly defined, of course, to be within the Tor network, and whenever you see the traffic from that particular exit nodes, which are known, then you know that someone tries to stay anonymous, yes? There is a couple of ways how we can do that. CryptoWalker that I was mentioning on the last session has the same type of approach. Basically, the hackers or whoever is standing behind and the connection to the server where the key is maintained to encrypt data, it's technically, you're connecting back to one of the exit nodes. And the project idea is technically to keep you anonymous. Okay, so here comes the question. This is a very simple demo from the beginning. Let's warm up. How to be able to connect to the Tor network? Well, there are many ways how we can do this. The simplest way, if you want to jump directly to the field, is to use the Tor browser. And Tor browser is, of course, downloaded from the Tor project's website. Yeah? So it's very easy to find it. This is, as you see, a sample edition of the Firefox. And basically, whenever you are there, you are able to browse that Tor network's resources. Just to give you the idea, of course, whenever you are using the Tor network, like how does it look like? So technically, I'm on the website, what's my IP address? And here you can see that your IP address is 539.76.182. And this is something that I have launched just before the presentation. But for real, when we check out that from the regular Internet Explorer, so what's my IP? Of course, it says 7788 and so on, which is our real IP address. So the IP addresses of the Tor network obviously are known, and you technically stop at that level. So this is one of the ways how hackers can hide itself. There's, of course, one question. Because I've been always wondering, how do we, in our infrastructures, fight the traffic that is coming out? Because if one of your employees would like to use this kind of browser or any kind of tools and so on, how can you control the traffic that is coming out? And of course, we can say the firewall. But in general, if the traffic goes over 80, there's a big question, how do we control this port 80, yes? Another question, completely out of subject, is that how do we control, and do we control, traffic like ICMP? And just to warm you up a little bit after lunchtime, the question is, on which port ping runs? Come on, guys. Doesn't have a port, thank you. Unfortunately, I don't have any sausage from Poland for you, or Polish vodka. That will be a good reward. It doesn't, because it's on the network layer, yes? ICMP, it's the protocol on the 3rd layer. I'm sure you know that people don't need these stupid protocols anyway. The first letters of the OSI ISO model, physical, data link, network, yes? People don't need. This is the 3rd layer, and basically ICMP works over there. The question is, do we filter it out? If you can ping Google, what is in ping, technically? You know, guys. What is inside ping? Like when you, through the network, when you sniff it, what do you see? An alphabet, right? why alphabet? That's one of the strange questions, yes? And answer is, why not? Yes? Why not alphabet? If I sent you a document and you send me the document back, technically I got the confirmation that you are existing and you are alive over there, yes? So this is one of these things that we should always pay attention to. Okay, so here comes the thing. I would like to show you a small concept, and that's going to be a little bit about the hardening regarding who can communicate with what. Because if, for example, hacker in your infrastructure wants to stay anonymous, there is always some communication that is made from the inside to the outside. And the question is, how do we allow that kind of traffic? So one of the examples, basically, is that over here, I got technically the web page. This particular web page, it's a simple portal. It's, as you see, our developer hasn't really sense of art. Actually, completely no sense. But this is the remote control portal for something that is running inside. Yes, the key point is that hacker, with its tools, with its solution, when he sets up, he wants you to connect back to him. The question is, how can we do that? So I would like to show you one thing here. So basically, this remote control thing allows us to control the clients underneath, and it has its own language. Yes? So let me technically set up the command. So it's run cmd, and then I'm going to run the cmd with the parameter where it's going to be called who am I, and I'm going to stream it to C, let's say, that's going to be on the victim's disk, let's say C, who am I, 1.txt. And I'm going to submit query. And when the query is going to be gone, so let's say, if that's going to be technically reproducing, okay, perfect, then it means it was executed on the client's computer. So let me check out, how does it look on the client's computer? So this is the client. It's a little bit messy on the desktop, but why not? And then let's find out right now the file created. So there is this who am I 1. Yes, this is 4:52 a.m. 4:52 a.m. This is my file. And technically, of course, I got here some information, regardless who am I. Doesn't really matter, yeah? So question is, how can we, because this is client asking for updating status with the server. This is one of the best attack methods that we can have. This is, by the way, how my husband was, well, actually 15 years ago, being very much on the dark side and playing a little bit against the law and doing a little bit of strange things when the police enforcement wasn't there, because, I mean, this is something that we have right now. One of the, we call it reverse HTTP attacks. This is something from the inside, because someone runs something, standalone tool, doesn't matter, asking for trouble. So this is exactly this scenario. How can we prevent something from the inside of the network to ask for trouble? And here comes a very simple solution. I said demo's going to be simple at the beginning, so let's move on. So simple solution, and I'm going to be very unpopular right now. It says Windows Firewall. We could be like, Windows Firewall is such a crap. Oh my God, yes, we will never use that. Well, technically, Windows Firewall is actually quite good whenever it's configured well, yes? So this is the thing. So normally, what it allows for communication, and as we see, this is the default. Outbound traffic, outbound connections are the ones that are technically allowed, yes? Do not match the rule allowed, yes? So this is something that says everything from the inside can go out. We've got one customer. Well, we still got one. He's still happy, though we had a small challenge, because he said, well, prove it. Why am I supposed to have the firewall turned on? It sounds maybe like a cliche, but really, why we're supposed to have the firewall turned on? Yes? So the answer was very simple. If you have something running inside your infrastructure, this something will bring the pop-up, or not if you are just a regular user, allowing for the communication out from your workstation. If you don't have such, if you have it turned off, then you will be not asked. The communication will just go through. This is the huge advantage of having firewall turned on, even with the default configuration. So what I want to show you is that in this particular case, not here, in Outbound Rules, I have created, so the rules that are coming out, yes, for the traffic that is coming out, I have created 3 rules, yes? One is allowing the whole communication within the local subnet, only this. So basically, we can find out, let me begin. The scope, of course. So in my case, this is the one single IP address, but of course, you can have the subnet with the mask, so you are allowing for computer to communicate only within the local area network, but if someone wants to move further, then you are allowing the certain processes in operating system to actually run. And this is an amazing setup within the Windows firewall. Don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about the solution, as in Poland we call it sucked from the finger, which means if the wind blows, there's a red button on a corner, yes, then it's going to be working. No, 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 it's a very practical approach. Because what we can do, we can allow, for example, let me show you, different kinds of services or software, so different kinds of executables, to communicate through the network. And the software that can communicate, in this case, is going to be just Internet Explorer, software that can communicate with the network or with the within the internet, it's defined by you. So you are saying, yeah, all of the domain services will work, but if you want a dear user browse the internet, or for example, use the Outlook web access or use Outlook in general to connect to the internet, then this is allowed, this is allowed, this is allowed, this is allowed, yes? And it's not very difficult to define such processes. We could be like, okay, how am I supposed to know which processes want to communicate with the internet? Well, let me put it this way, you should. Yes, Internet Explorer, it's definitely one of them. So you are allowing, of course, for the communication like this. Who responds, let me actually show you, who responds to the whole traffic, this, like who executes this traffic, it's the service that is running in the system. This is obviously obvious to be found. It's not digitally signed and so on. How often do we do it? It's a different story. But of course, if we have hacker trying to set up himself and to kind of make his position, because there must be something automatic, there must be something auto-running. What if you reboot your computer? Will the hacker still be able to communicate with your computer? He should. Therefore, things need to be automatic, right? So services is one of the ways. So whenever we have things like that, trying to communicate out to the internet, and this service is the one that executes this command remotely given by the hacker, we can, of course, scope it. So basically, let me do that. So I have these rules configured, and now let's do some drastic move. And that drastic move is going to say, on the domain profile, outbound connections are blocked. Yes? So we cannot go out, besides allowed rules. It's not like in NTFS, obviously, within the firewall, the deny, it doesn't take precedence. The logic takes precedence. So basically, let me, of course, do OK. And we've got outbound connections do not match, blah, blah, blah. So we cannot go out. So here comes the question. Can I, for example, like, let me go here. Can I, for example, technically run the same command? So let me do, so run CMD, and then we're going to run the CMD with parameters C, who am I, and then let me stream the same story for the C, and then let's say who am I 2.txt, yes? So submit query, and if the query is accepted, technically sucked by the service on the client, then I will be able to execute it, and this time I'm not, yes? But the question is, can I, for example, browse this particular server, yes? This server's IP, there is an IIS running, yes? So, sorry, of course, not who am I, but ipconfig, yes? We've got 10.10.2.201. So whenever, of course, we run the certain Internet Explorer within the network, which we can do 10.10.2, and we can run 201, yes? As one of the servers, yes? This is my piece of art, just to, yeah, identify one of the default websites. Sorry about that. Anyway, so we are able to see that the communication internally, it's fine, but if I want to browse the internet, I can technically do this only from one application. As simple as this. Okay, so as long as we've got that kind of communication, it's lovely, because they're very hard to identify processes that are communicating from inside to the outside, and they are, let's say, doing this once a month. How do you identify that? On the firewall? Like how? There is no force to do that, really. Of course, AppBlocker works, and so on. Great, if we have one. So firewall could be also helpful if we understand what is the real threat. And the real threat is some of the processes communicating out, let's say, once a month. This is the threat. How to address this? Well, you allow this and that to communicate to the internet. The rest, no. So this is something that it's nice to reconsider, because against anonymization of the traffic, we can, of course, implement some of the mitigation rules. Another step from the hacker is to know your victim. Let me tell you the story. This was one of the pen tests that I was doing. For a reason, I'm participating also in a social engineering test, which is kind of funny, and I'm sorry, it is terrible to leverage the female fact, I know, but who cares, yes, at the end, if what I'm doing works. So stories like this. There is the company, and they've got like 3 points when I can be checked for identity. One is the entrance gate. And this entrance gate, there is a company that is addressed. They are technically, let's say, on the 8th floor. Yes, that means that there is a reception, probably someone to say, hi, oh, please sign up in a book, show me your ID, blah, blah, blah. But I don't want to do it. I completely don't want to do it. What I want to do, though, I want to sneak into the certain company and see, of course, what I can do further. So what I was technically waiting for, and we are calling this tailing, a simple thing, and it's not a big deal, don't get me wrong, it's very simple, but let me tell you the rest of the story. So what I did, I found a very nice guy, and then I stick to his back, and then I went through the gate to the company. And when he was like, I'm like, oh, I'm so sorry, yes? And then, I mean, forgotten, I'm in through first gate. Next thing is the elevator. Elevator is with the padlock. You are pressing the floor number, let's say number 6 or whatever, and of course you are getting in. But the problem is that when you get to the top, to the certain floor, you need to use the card to open the door. But I don't have one, yes? So what I did, I technically took my bag, and I was like and I'm very sorry, I'm going to use the stereotype, like a typical female, searching for something in my bag, because obviously I cannot find the phone, the keys, or many other things. So I was like, where's my card, where's my card? And I was watching who technically presses the number 6 floor. And there was one guy, also very nice, by the way. So he pressed 6, the door opened on the elevator, and I immediately jumped inside. And I stepped in the back of the elevator. Why? Because I'm assuming this guy is a gentleman. Yes? What does it mean? It means that if we get to the 6th floor and the door opens, and it was exactly how I expected, this guy jumped out from the elevator, he took his card, did the pick to the door, opened the door, and he said, ladies first. And I'm like, thank you, it's a very kind of you, thank you. And what I was technically, where I was in, and again, I know that, I mean, we are in Norway, so this was actually not in Norway, but this was the company that was trading oil. And there was a lot of traders' desks, obviously without computers being locked. And again, sounds like a cliche, but it wasn't really, because when the traders finished the deal and they were dealing with millions, they decided to go for lunch. And they're like, whoa, so happy, their head is full of thoughts. So they just simply forgot to do that. And then I'm sitting and I'm like saying hi to everyone. Everyone says hi back, and so on. What I mean is that nobody asked really, who am I? That's my point. But again, what I'm saying is that we should know our victim. We should know who we are talking to, who we are targeting. Because maybe one of these guys could help me to get in. Maybe. Yes, I know what this company was doing. I knew where to go. I know, for example, if you are liking the PowerShell scripts, maybe I can give you one. And that's exactly what we are thinking about. So I would like to show you in a moment a demonstration when I'm going to use the PowerShell script to deliver an attack. And if you do like PowerShell script, there's one thing that we should always remember. Never do Control-C, Control-V without reviewing what you are doing. Why? Because we are administrators. We are liking scripts. This is what we use, and we run them as administrators, yes? So as simple as this, how we are able to smuggle something in the script, are we? Well, of course you are analyzing the script, but the problem is that our minds, usually, they work in a way so that whenever we enter the website, we read the script like, aha, this is something that can be useful. So we Control-C that and use it in our script, yes? So here comes the thing. Scripts are pretty cool. Let me show you. Basically, let me use the machine here. That's going to be this machine over here. And what I'm going to do, let's not be administrator. Let's say we're going to be server administrator. So what I'm going to do, let me lock this, and let me lock as the different account, which I need to close it and reopen it. Sorry about that. It's a Hyper-V thing. And that's going to be just a few seconds. And I will be back. Perfect. Very good. Okay, other user. I'm going to log in as Freddy. And basically, this particular Freddy, he is a domain user, but he is the administrator of the server. Yes? And he is like, OK, fantastic. I mean, let me have a look at the different kinds of scripts. So he technically opens up the browser, explore, and he browses the script. So you can become someone's friends or whatever. You can be just targeting this particular company, stderr.pl. Let me get to the point, pshell1.htm. Should be working. OK, let's see. Very good. So here comes the thing. Yeah, this is not important. So this is the script, yes? The script is actually pretty straightforward. Technically, seriously, I mean, the script is nice. I really struggled to write it. Well, maybe not much, but what the script does, it gives you the configuration of the services on the certain machine, and it marks the services that are misconfigured, meaning the service is running not on a built-in account, so not on a local system, local service, network service, and it's placed somewhere else than in Windows or program files. When we have a situation like this is a potential threat, because we are able to change the executables of the services on the fly just like this. Even though they are open, they're running, you can just rename them and replace with your own, and then you are all set. So this is the problem, OK? So it would be great to list the configuration of those services. You can, of course, let me take this out. You can, of course, browse through the script. Go ahead. This is in the internet, by the way. So you can have a look. And everything here is fine. Promise. Yes? Yeah. We could be thinking that maybe there is something like in between those lines. No, there isn't. There isn't really. The lines are empty. But where the things are then? So let me technically copy the script. And let's do one thing. So I'm going to take the whole thing out, like as the technically administrator is going to do. Let's take it out. And then at the end, we are running the function get colorful services. Let me do that. OK. And then, of course, we will need the PowerShell. So technically, PowerShell. Let's run it. Come on, come on, come on. And then, perfect. Let's use the IC. And the reason why is because it's nice to play with it, obviously. And then I would like to show you a typical problem. It's a human thing, again. How we are not paying attention to what we are running. So basically, whenever we paste the script, there's one thing that I kind of don't like. So Control-V, yes, that's what I'm doing, OK? And it goes to the bottom, always, yes? Like, OK, is this really a problem? Well, there is one, because I will run the script in a moment. If we go to the source of the website, and again, typical thing, so let me go to the view source, then the question is what we are really copying. Because don't forget, and again, simple trick for a hacker, very simple trick for the hacker. There is something that is called the onCopy function. And you can copy something else than what you see. Just to remind you, yes? Especially within the PowerShell script, because who runs them? We do. As who we run them? Usually as administrator, because we want to know. Especially when we are listing the configuration of the different kinds of services within the server. What is happening then? Well, I am downloading the malware here. As you see, this is from my server. This particular malware is actually kind of geeky tricky because it is not seen at all when you are logged on. This is the malware that hooks into the winlogon, winlogon.exe process. And basically, what is happening when we have it like that, then it runs only when you lock your desktop. When you log on, it stops running. When you lock the desktop, it starts running. So it's kind of hard to spot that, yes? Anyway, so let me, of course, work on that. And let me run the whole scenario. So this is particularly Freddy, as we have him. Very good. One more thing. To be able to list the services, of course, let me launch it. But to be able to list the services, OK, good. Yeah, exactly. Freddy needs to be, yes. Freddy needs to be an administrator, and he is. So let's, no, it's OK. Let's see. Why we got messages like this? OK, let's see. So basically, this particular script, we can analyze what is this. The runtime exception, something. Yeah, exactly. So index of, OK, let me do it like this. Of course, it's going to be so much easier. Bang, bang, bang. because he can query the services, but to be able to list more details, he needs to be a local administrator. Did I? Let me do it like this one more time. Is it? Yeah, okay, great. He is an administrator. Okay, let me do it one more time. I'm just gonna paste the script, and then we're gonna have more details. Bunc, and run. The whole thing. Now it should be, I believe, a little bit better. If there is some mistake, then that's okay, because I know what to do later. Okay, so this is so much better. Okay, great. So basically, whenever we are listing that, you see that there is a one red service. So this particular one red service, it's misconfigured, yeah? So the script is in general very good. But what happened really is that we have created the authentication provider that is launched by the WinLogon. And there is one mistake that administrators do. If you do have zoning or scoping configured in your infrastructure, as we call it, it's great. What does it mean? It means that the high privilege administrator never log on to the lower zone. For example, well, simple example, domain admin never logs on to the server. Maybe not too simple though. Domain admin, it's actually, there's a small misconception, I'm sure you've heard about it. Domain admin, it's the same approach as DNS admin, DHCP admin. Domain admin is designed to log on to domain controller. And if he logs on somewhere else, he leaves the credential behind, as we were talking last year within the Mimikatz. So if this kind of situation is happening, you really don't know until you log on what is waiting for you if there is anything. And if you're gonna change the scope, you can technically elevate the problem to the level what you are on. So what I'm saying is that we should have the workstation administrators, the server administrators, and then domain administrators, which is like 2 people, 3 people in the infrastructure, and they are all working in the same zones, and they never mix. Okay, let me, of course, show you one more thing. Whenever there is this beautiful moment, then let's say lock, then administrator logs on, and again, I need to close it and reopen it. Then, of course, here comes the question as who we're going to be running things and how that's going to spread. Well, again, if we don't follow the good practices, the good rules, like here, so this is the domain admin logging onto the servers, then the certain thing can very easily spread. And this is the whole scenario. Okay. So how do we spread this thing? And do we spread this thing? Well, of course we do, because what happened is that we have already, at that particular stage, we have downloaded our things. Let me technically log off and log on, because this is what is needed to inject things in the WinLogon. So that's what I'm going to do. And then, of course, the thing is going to spread with the credentials. And this is how different kinds of worms are working. Yes. So let me do the sign out anyway. And let me, of course, log on. So this is, of course, to demonstrate you what kind of power the Control-C and Control-V has in the internet whenever we are copying someone's solutions. And in this particular case, it's going to take a small moment. We will not wait for it. I will be back to this. What's going to happen is that administrator is just launching the credential provider. Where this credential provider is delivered? Well, this is this PowerShell thing. Of course, it's visual, and you could be like, okay, why do we see that? Well, that's no problem. I would like to show you in a moment how we are able not to see that. So in this particular case, we are, of course, infecting the certain machine, and this nasty thing spreads pretty nicely. Okay, so basically, what is also very nice is that we are able to listen to the incoming connections at that particular case on the certain ports. And as simple as this is the finalizing situation. Whenever, of course, we're going to spread to, in this particular case, Windows client, there is a netcat connection somewhere waiting, yes? And then you are able to connect remotely to the hacker as someone doing that and bringing back the reverse shell. When this is going to happen, it just takes a while. I will show you, of course, the whole situation, how it works. Okay, another thing is that let me establish the waiting list for the domain controller to go back. So let me do that, because the next stage of our presentation, so let me go to tools, is to dig into, of course, let me do this on a port, domain controller setup, which is on 5.1. Okay, so we're going to be waiting for that. And basically, that's going to take a while to be able to spread and crawl within the infrastructure. What this tiny thing is doing, it's actually It's not my IP. Maybe it's some of yours. I don't know. Anyway, so technically what this thing is doing, it's spreading all around the interfaces that we have, yes? Okay, so, and so on and so on. Okay, let me dig in to the registry, rec edit, and show you the whole trick. The whole trick, and I see this is already running, is that which of the credentials providers, because this is how we find it, again, DLL, which of the credentials providers, it's the one that is bad. We could be like, yeah, probably this one, because it's all caps. But if you click on that, there is obviously this psychological thing, let me launch it, that says that we are dealing right now with a sample credential provider. And sample credential provider, is this something that is good or bad? Because if we have a look what kind of providers we've got, pin login provider, cert provider, something provider, yes? Smart card pin provider, we can name it password provider as we want. And in most cases, it's not very generic provider. Is it good or bad? It's good, actually, yes? So this is where malware in this particular case resides. So we are able to count on the spreading like this. Okay, guys, so this is technically, we are here waiting for connections. That connection is going to happen. I'm continuing, and we are back on the particular subject. Okay, so the next thing is to make your backdoor persistent. So that's exactly what we mean. There are different kinds of places where malware can resist, and different kind of places where you can put your code. What do we mean by this? Well, very simple thing. If you want to be able, as a hacker, to connect back, you need to be technically having something inside the machine to be able to connect back to. So this is basically what we are talking about. One of the things, it's the notification package. It's actually pretty interesting. Notification package is the one that checks for the password complexity. You will find it in the registry as one of the places when you can put your DLLs. Task scheduler, one of the things. And LSA providers, the same story, pretty similar to the notification packages. DLL, startup, menu start, and so on. What is the tool that gathers them all in one place? Because there is a solution, obviously. This name of the tool, as simple as this, is actually nothing but Autoruns. And Autoruns is the one that will show you technically all of them. Yeah, let me actually show you. And Autoruns, okay, let me dig in, is the one, of course, to be able to list all of the things, you need to run it as an administrator. And this is the one, well, sometimes we call it an inventory tool, but it has nothing to do with inventory. It shows you all of the places where malware can inject itself, besides, there's one exception, menu start. Startup, obviously. Yes, startup is in the menu start folder. So this is something that we always should pay attention to. Here, you're going to find information about all these things that are listed on the left side, so that we are able, of course, to find out if there is something running in our infrastructure or not. Okay, so let's move forward. Let's keep going. And the next thing, what I would like to show you, is how the malware, of course, can spread within the domain controller. So what I'm going to do in a certain domain controller, I'm going to technically, in my case, I'm going to just log off, and I'm going to log on back again. So this is my domain controller over here. I will just sign out and sign in again. And then you will see how, because the malware spread it with our credentials, I mean, there is nothing that was infecting domain controller, but just because it was copying through the admin share all the resources, then it was also adding the remote registry key, because you can do this through the admin share. We are able to move forward with the whole infection. So let me authenticate, and this is exactly the same story. We'll be waiting here for the malware to be downloaded through the WinLogin provider, and then, of course, get back. So this is the PowerShell window that will pop up in a moment. Here we go, yes? I've done nothing on a domain controller. Everywhere when you log on, you're going to see this thing. So there is one question being asked. So let me take this out, because we are waiting when the spreading is happening in the back. I'm not doing anything, literally. There is one question how we can, of course, leverage this. How to stay undetected? Because when we are seeing these commands and so on, yes, this is something that, of course, raises our attention, and we see that something is going on over there. How to be the person that can hide? Well, there is a couple of ways how we can do this. Some some years ago, actually, this was also on TechEd, and this was, and again, some years ago, and last year I was talking about something that is called active process links. This is the only technique that is used by malware, by flink and blink, so the processes are listed by the special list that you can modify and completely take the process out from your eyes. So one of the things is this. One of the other things is actually to use the hiding mechanism as one of the we use by Windows. And actually, I would like to show you one of the mechanisms like that. So let me begin. OK, here we go. This is a tool. And again, this is a tool that is written by my husband. So it's kind of like not very pretty. You can find it in the tools. But what it helps you for, it's called Hidewind. And Hidewind, what it does, it can hide technically processes from someone's eyes. So I got here Notepad, as you see, start in about 1 minute. And whenever we are enumerating windows, we can find out this Notepad over here. So as you can see, this is technically listed somewhere. Can I hide this window? Obviously I can. It's hidden from here. It is seen as a process, though. But again, it's a small cheat that we can proceed with whenever we want to hide our malicious software. And when you use it with the combination of active process links, try to find that. You need to go to the handles of the client-server runtime subsystem and find on the list of handles process that is called not existing handle. Wow, so obvious, right? So whenever we've got the tools like that, of course, we are able to find the whole situation. I can hide it, show it, and so on. The tool is kind of simple, as you see. This is just to demonstrate to you how we can play with that. So whenever we are, as a hacker, thinking about staying undetected, we can, of course, hide this from our eyes. Either we can use the modification of the active process links. OK, one more thing. How to hide data, because this is also a pretty interesting scenario. So basically, we've got, and let me dig in. This is tiny setup that I have. How we are able to hide one file in the other one, yes? Because this is also how we can execute different kinds of malware. So let me dig in. This is the PowerShell. And what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to be hiding malware in a different kinds of files. In this particular case, it's going to be the Excel spreadsheet. And I'm going to do this in 5 different ways. By the way, 5 different ways. And this is just, I was like, yeah, let's just pick up some ways. And out of my head, immediately 5 different kinds of ways came out. There is more. There is more. How we can trace and find this data. So let's technically do that. Let me begin one file and then another one. Okay, extract malware and XLS malware. So let me launch those scripts. And this particular script you will also find, of course, in the scripts directory. So first of all, the first one that I have is to hide malware within the different kinds of files. So let me show you how the logic is. So let me begin. Here we go. We've got here malware files, 2 files. And my goal is to put malware.exe to the XLS files in a couple of ways. How we can do that? Well, I'm going to extract data later to XLS files. So here we're going to find malware, so XLS with the malware. So let's dig in. First of all, let me, of course, prepare myself. The simple thing that we can do, as simple as this, we can rename the file. This is as simple as possible, yes? And then eventually some mechanism going to simply rename it back, yes? So let me see. Why, malware.exe, malware files, there is one. Let's see, because it does not exist. Oh, let's see, why it's like this. This is on the G drive. Oh, OK, because I'm on the E drive. OK, that makes sense. G drive. Yeah, now it's better. Pink. OK. So here, there is a one that appears. And of course, if you try to open it, then Excel will tell you as simple as this, that we cannot open the file, blah, 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 because the extension is not valid. Yeah, not a surprise. But of course, this is one of the ways how the files can hide. Another way is technically by combining 2 files all together, yes? So we are able to attach one file to another so that they are technically tied to each other. And then it's kind of hard to find them, though whenever you do it like this and you try to technically do this with the Excel, then the question is how Excel sees this. Can we, for example, open this particular file and then Excel tell us something. And yes, if the file it has no appropriate structure, you've got an information that we've got a problem, blah, blah, blah. Do you want to recover as much as we can? If you click yes, it's going to remove the executable, and it's going to present you the regular Excel spreadsheet. Okay, what about the other things? Let me move on. So basically, the other things is to use the alternate data stream. And to be able to use this, we're going to use a very clever thing, which in this particular case is the mclink tool. If you know the tool, this is the tool that we can use to play with the symbolic links, yes? And mclink can copy data into the alternate data streams. So one of the ways how malware used to hide itself, and it still does, to be able, of course, to well, put the files inside the certain file. Okay, let me see. Okay, perfect. Let's see what is the result, if there is any. Okay, we do have it. Yes, and technically, what is really nice is that Excel spreadsheet, whatever that is, it opens completely without any problems. Yes, because data is with the alternate data streams. How to list the alternate data streams? Who remembers? dir/R. Yes, that shows you that there is something. And if it lists something, it means you have a data over there. Yes, this is, for example, how PowerShell as well recognizes if the script is remote, and technically what does it mean? And we are able to find out that where the script comes from based on that kind of information. Okay, one more thing. So we are able also to embed one file in another one. So how do we do this? Well, as simple as this. You do the drag and drop, yes? So it's kind of hard to spot that there is something in the document until you really open it. So there is this particular document. There's nothing wrong with this, yes? So this is how we can use any kind of format, as long as we know it, to be able, of course, to put the file inside. And we can list and check out if there is something. And basically, here we don't see much, because the file has been embedded inside the document. Yes, the document looks normal. Another thing to play with, let me take this out, is basically to, and this is going to be clever, use the hex, well, first of all, take the executable, convert it to its hex version, and then we'll be able, and this is a pretty long script, we'll be able, whenever we will have any mechanism of malware running, we'll be able to decode it. And question is, how do we do that? Well, this tiny script allows us, let me see what went wrong in such case. Yeah, let me run the selection again. What does it? What is it? Okay, this is kind of strange. Okay, let me see. Because we should have no problem. Okay. Yeah, let me take this whole thing one more time and execute it. Let me take this one more time. Here we go. And let's try one more time. Okay, this is kind of strange. Let's see if we do have any result. We do have one. Let's see, of course, if we're going to see that, yes? Okay, so the malware thing opens. Let me see what could be the issue with this. And basically here, we've got, okay, so we don't have things like that. Okay, see all sheets. And do we see anything? No, okay, so that didn't work. Oh, for a reason, let's see. I do have a backup for that, but let me try to quickly investigate what could be the reason of that to not work correctly, yes? Quickly. Let's see. We couldn't find the malware file. No. Could not find. So strange. And it's still on the G drive. Okay, let's see. Is there any, yeah, it's exactly my path, so everything should be fine. Malware. Okay, eventually, let's move forward, and then let's see how we can, yeah, copy item. We've got everything. Malware 5, we do have that. Okay, let's see, basically, I'm going to be back to this, because that definitely kind of failed.
You're missing Excel sheets.
Yeah, maybe, but you know, there shouldn't be a problem, really. Okay, let me maybe close Excel spreadsheet. I did. because the sheet is there, really. I mean, the book 1 XLSX, it's there. Yeah, so I wonder, like, what is this? Yes. Yes, but I am right now on the G drive. Okay, let me see quickly then. Because I'm using the variables, so there should be no problem, really. And the my path. Okay, so let's see. The malware.exe. Yeah, we could copy the files out eventually if it's like, oh, okay, searching for that. Let me run the whole script again. And then, okay, the initial value, let's set up the variables because I changed the folder. Yeah, I think I know what's wrong. Okay, so now we solve it. Yay, hot style troubleshooting. Okay, let's see right now. That's better, yeah. So the variable was set to the wrong one, yes? So now it's fine. Good. So now we can, and this is the file that is a little bit bigger, which is what I wanted to show you. And right now, what we can technically go to is to show all the, so technically unhide the sheets, and then I get a sheet that is hidden, yes? And that particular sheet in the file contains the converted to the, as you see, in this particular case, is the base 64, the string that we can use, of course, to extract later. How we are able to extract it, though? Let me show you. I'm going to show you the last example. So very easily, yes, extract malware script as one of them is actually the one that is extracting the whole thing. So this is the one. Let me launch it. And then what you're going to see over here is the malware executable that is extracting. So let me launch that. First of all, let me launch the whole thing. Good, and let me launch that so that we've got the path variable set. And let's see, this one is working on right now. And malware.exe is right now extracted, yes? So this is how we can put the data inside. This is just one of the formats, yes? There are many kinds of formats like that. So this is just to show you how we are able, as a hacker, to put data in the place like that. Okay, so let's move forward. One of the things that we've been actually searching for is, at that particular case, let me move forward, the situation where eventually we are able to impact how the server works. And one of the things that I wanted to show you, and in a case of like staying undetected and at the end leveraging your position, is that whenever you've got any kind of like vulnerabilities existing in the market, that can be leveraged by the hacker at the moment, obviously, he or she gets in. And I would like to show you one of the vulnerabilities that was available and working still in Windows, but right now it is patched. One of the vulnerabilities was called the Hurricane Panda. And the Hurricane Panda, even though it's a pretty cute name, it was kind of dangerous. It had the code 2014-4113, and this is the vulnerability from the mid-October. And that particular vulnerability is considered to one of the deadliest. The reason why I'm saying this is because, and let me show you how it works, it allows you for the elevation, quite illegal, from the regular user, or I will actually use it from the other user, which in our case is going to be the application's pool identity, to the local system account. So first of all, what I'm searching for is the worker process. Let me show you. This particular worker process is running as, in my case, Panda. This is the application's pool identity. Yes, so IIS, app pool, and then Panda. This is just a simple name. The privileges of the IIS app pool account are similar to the network service, if you ever wondered, yes? How we're able to see that? Well, as simple as this. I'm running right now Process Hacker. So what I'm going to do, right-click, and then I'm going to go to miscellaneous, and then run as this user, and cmd.exe, very good. And right now, if we do who am I, let me enlarge it, you are the certain user, yes? So you can impersonate yourself in a different kinds of accounts. Is this a good thing or bad thing? Because why this is happening? Do I have to put the panda's password? As you saw, no. Why? One of the privileges in operating system is to take someone's token after the user authenticates. It's not a big deal. It's not a hacking, it's a feature, yes, technically. So basically, whenever you are already logged on and you have administrative privileges, you can steal everyone's tokens as much as you want. Yes, you need to just have an appropriate tool to do that. So in this particular case, I do have a good tool. And what I would like to show you right now, the Panda. So let me do net user, let me do that, net user, let's say Panda1, and then password add. Obviously, access is denied, as you see, yes? So the Panda, as the application's identity, it's not capable of technically creating the user. So how we are able to work on that? Well, we are. There is an exploit, as I've mentioned, yes? One of the, let me get to the folder. Here we go. Yes, and then let me run the exploit. Exploit, dir, and I'm enlarging, of course, the whole thing. I'm gonna technically impersonate myself, let me show you, within the operating system by using the vulnerability in Win32k, so that I'm gonna steal the token that is better than mine. And technically, when I will use this vulnerability, I'm able to do, well, technically anything, yes? Why? I will show you. Right now, I just press enter. Who am I? That gives me, from the Panda, the direct impersonation to a pretty powerful account, yes? This is one of the things. So we have been playing with this clicking things. This is the vulnerability thing, yes? Another way how hacker get in is obviously through misconfiguration, many different kinds of. And I would like to show you, of course, the demonstration about that. The comment regarding this is very simple. Well, that just worked, and that was very deadly, and that was actually distributed through macro. So if the user run macro, then the hacker got elevated, and then you got a problem. But one of the things over here is that if you will be using things like AppLocker, this will never happen, yes, because people will be not able to run such an executable. The last thing to show you is a very simple thing regarding, of course, the misconfiguration. And one of the misconfiguration issues that is existing pretty nicely in the current infrastructure is the lack of data sanitization. And what I want to show you, as simple as this, is a simple service. Let's do this from the client perspective. It's a simple service that is not sanitizing data properly. And don't get me wrong, I didn't configure it so that it's bad. I just had the default options. Do you remember things like shell shock? Of course you do. So the shell shock was that we were technically making the query, and the query was having a special user agent configured, and this user agent was processed by the router, and then router was technically executing whatever was put in the user agent. Did you know that Windows has the same? And it's not patched, by the way. And it's not going to be patched, as far as I know, for a pretty long time. Interested to see? Okay, let's dig in. So, as simple as this, the demonstration goes like that. Let me get in. Punk. Here we go. So, if we do set, let's use, for example, test equals cat. That sets us the variable test that's going to have the context and the content cat. Yeah, it's very simple. Next thing, if we do set test, yes, then what's going to happen is that we've got the variable being displayed. Not a big deal. Yes, very obvious. So now, what is the difference in between this and this? If I do echo % test %, then it displays me the cat. Logical? Yes. No danger here. Yes, this is okay. Until now. So, next stage, if we do set, let's say, and again, test equals cat, and then we're going to do end ping localhost, it's the end command that is technically combining two commands altogether. So it sets the variable and it pings localhost. Make sense? Yeah, this is no danger. Okay, next thing is that what happens if I would like to have it as a text? I don't want to have it as the end thing. I want to have the whole string in the variable. I need to use the ampersand, yes? So the dash. So I would do it simply, pretty similar like this, but I'm going to do set test equals cat, ampersand, and then end ping localhost. So that replaces this special end to be a text. That makes sense. So now, here comes the big question. If I do set test, what I have? The whole text. What happens if I do echo? Exactly, and that's the problem, yes? So if I do echo, and then I do %test, instead of displaying me the test, the whole text, it runs it. This is a known bug, by the way, yes? So here comes the big question, how we are able, of course, to exploit eventually server with that, yes? Well, that depends how you are sanitizing your data. If you are interpreting something that comes in from the outside, your interpretation of the log, let's say, query type on the web server, might be processed like that. Just keep this in mind. Tiny, tiny thing. And this is technically not patched. The last thing that I wanted to show you is the tool that our team wrote. And this is a tool, as I said, written 2 days ago. And that particular tool allows you to get access to the service secrets from the offline perspective. Don't get me wrong, it was actually quite funny because I was presenting this many times, but not this one, obviously. And you can, and we've got a tool, which is a very good tool, which is called SAPD. And SAPD tool, you can download this from our website, allows you to extract passwords from the service accounts. As simple as this, yes? And you are able to see them in the clear text. But the problem is that there was always a question, can you do this offline? And the answer was no. We've been working for it for a long time, by the way. We are right now working on the data protection API. Maybe on next NIC I will be able to present it to you because we are trying to technically hack it. And it seems like we are succeeding, slowly, slowly. But with this, what do you need to have to be able to extract the LSA secrets from the operating system? You need to have 2 things. Well, boot key is one of the things that you need to have, but this system hive, system registry, and in this particular case, security registry, are having the encryption data needed to be able to decrypt something that is called LSA storage. And obviously, LSA, Local Security Authority, encrypts its own storage. So how we are able to decrypt it when the LSA is not online? Well, we are. The problem here, and the whole thing, what makes it work, is there is a function in operating system that is encrypting the encryption keys in the system hive. And what we did, we simply reversed it, yes? And we have implemented it in a tool. So right now, what I'm doing, and what the tool is doing, is that on my desktop, I have copied out from one of the virtual machines, security and system. How to copy it out? Well, as simple as this, yes? You've got the shadow copy, and then within the shadow copy, you are able to do that. Actually, let me show you just for the reference, so that we are on the same page, how to copy it out. So let me log on, and let me finalize the session of this. So we've got, let's open up the command prompt over here. Not this one, obviously, the other one. Bank. So as simple as this, as an administrator, VSS admin is the one that we can use, yes? And list shadows, list as the shadow copies. And if, of course, we list shadows, unexpected failure. This is funny. Shadows, let's see. Okay, let me technically do this from the other machine. This is kind of strange. Let me do this from here. And then, so you simply copy the whole thing out because it's not technically protected with the non-share handle. That means that you can technically copy it as much as you want, yes? So this is better. VSS admin list shadows. Lost. Oh, pink. List shadows. No, it's fine. List shadows. Oh, so funny. Unexpected failure. Have you seen things like that? Ooh. Okay, anyway. Let me dig in because this is very, very, very strange. Okay, so basically, whenever we've got the shadow that is listed, this particular shadow has a path. And you can simply do copy, and then there is the shadow path. It's going to have a line. You just copy it. And then you specify Windows System 32, Windows System 32, and then config, and then you just copy system or security. As simple as this, yes? And then the next step, of course, is you take it out. So if you do have an offline access of the machine to the machine, then you can copy these two things out, and our tool, the CQ secrets dumper, is extracting the password from the services that are technically configured on your server. So this is a tiny, tiny thing, yes? I know it's not really like, whoa, breathtaking, yes? But what it does, it's quite a serious thing underneath, because this was the reverse encryption function for the system registry, and this is something that allows to violate the integrity of the server when it's offline. Supposed to be secure, but it's not already. So just to sum up the whole thing, this session and the session goal was to present to you the ways and the different kinds of places how hackers can get in. What we have learned, basically, is that there are different kinds of steps that we should take as a hacker to be able to be in the infrastructure. Do your own research, stay undetected, eventually try to spread. From the administrator's perspective, of course, there is a monitoring what is needed. There is a 2.0 Sysmon that came out. If you didn't have a look, please do, because it's monitoring the processes running. Of course, I showed you the trick with the firewall as one of the. I showed you the sanitization problem as one of the. Administrators need to always stay up to date. And of course, as long as you have implemented security on the firewall level and execution level, which is AppLocker in our case, then we are more or less on a safe page, because malicious code to be able to run, regardless if it's executable or DLL, needs to have something to do that. And AppLocker is technically preventing that. If you don't have this implemented, please do, because from the security pen tester, it's something that, if it's not there, allows to simply get me in. Thank you so much, and I hope you enjoy it, and hopefully you're going to have a good rest of the day. Thank you.